Alright, let's see what's going on with the Madden updates. We got Madden 24 right around the corner, chat. Literally right around the corner. So, I saw this video on my recommended, and I was like, they said 5 things that were removed, so I want to see what they took out of Madden 24. We did play the beta. You feel me? So let's just see what they cooking up.
With Madden 24 being 2 weeks away, it's time to talk about 5 big things that were removed from the game. Now, when we think about things getting removed from Madden, we typically look at that as a bad thing because over the past 15 or so years, we've seen a lot of things that we really loved about the game get removed, and some of those things have just recently been added back, and some of those things have still yet to return to the game altogether. Now, over the past few years, they've definitely been doing a better job of not removing things from the game. Once they put it in there, it stays, and some of them they even further built on, while others they kind of just put and let them sit, but at least they didn't remove them. This year, however, there are 5 pretty notable things that were removed from the game, but I'm not too sure that these would be considered bad things, but I guess it all depends on the type of player you are. So let's get started with the list. Number 1 is the yard game mode.
They took it out?
I don't think a ton of people really played this mode outside of the first year that it was introduced. I thought it was really fun the first year, but the problem is they never really built upon this mode. They kind of just let it sit there, and I don't think it was getting much action. I never really saw people playing it, streaming it. I know some people definitely did, and it was fun to kind of play with your friends, but it never really got to the point where a lot of people thought it would go because they never did anything with it. However, the yard has been replaced with something called Superstar Showdown. So while the yard was removed, in a sense, they
what'd you say? What's up, Sky? What's good? Nigga, you went to sleep that fast?
So just transformed
nigga took a 30-minute nap.
Superstar Showdown is inside of the new Superstar mode, and it's going to be similar to the yard in that it's going to be a little bit more arcadey than the regular game. It's going to be on a shorter field. It's not going to be real plays and a full game. It's going to be a quick kind of pick up and play game with your Superstar career mode player. However, instead of being 6 versus 6, it's going to be 3 versus 3 with the capability of everybody on the field being user controlled. So with the yard, you could only have 3 users on each side of the ball, which meant you also had 3 AI teammates. With Superstar Showdown, you can have 3
what the fuck is
users
this? I'm watching a video. He's talking about Madden 24 and the things that were removed from Madden, and right now he's talking about the yard, and they're implementing a new game mode where basically you play against computers with your generated player. And because the yard, nobody played it, so it's just I'm watching a video about Madden 24. That's all you gotta know, Sky.
Users, there's no plays. They removed that, so it's all about one-on-one. Can you route up the guy that's defending you? Can you lock down the guy that's trying to route you up? However, it is important to note, if you are still on last gen, which is PS4 and the Xbox One,
we ain't on last gen anymore,
chat. Exist on that version of the game because Superstar Showdown is only going to be on the newer console,
Superstar
which
Showdown
by now
is
most
what
people have graduated over to, so I don't think this is going to affect too many people. Number 2,
face of the franchise.
Now again, this is going to depend on the type of player you are. You might be mad about this, but I think most people kind of agree that this mode never really took off either. It wasn't quite as lackluster as the yard was, but it wasn't much better either. Now, instead of face of the franchise, they're bringing back Superstar mode. So again, while they did remove face of the franchise, they replaced it with something that should hopefully be better, and is something that most people wanted to return, which was Superstar mode, because Superstar mode was more of a career mode, whereas face of the franchise was kind of a bridge between a career mode and a story mode. And it seems like most players tend to not like the story aspects of these modes. They want more of the career stuff. They want it to be more gameplay and not as many cutscenes, not as many storylines, not as much forced dialogue and things like that. Even NBA 2K announced with their game this year, they're doing the same thing with My Career. They're stripping back a lot of the story stuff and having it just be more about playing in the league, which is what most sports fans want. However, I'm sure there are some face of the franchise fans that liked the story aspect of things.
Yeah, story aspects are clean.
Depending on the type of player you are, this could definitely be a bad thing. And
once
again,
I don't really care about face of the franchise like that much,
if you're on the older generation consoles, you're still gonna have face of the franchise there if you want to play it. Probably won't have much updates to it. It'd probably be the same as it was last year, to be honest. But on the newer consoles, you're gonna now have Superstar mode instead. Hey, if you're still here at this point of the video and you haven't subscribed yet, you might as well just go ahead and subscribe because you're already a part of the family, whether you like it or not. You're clearly enjoying the content, and we would love to have you a part of the family over here. Trying to hit 1 million subscribers one day, and I definitely need everybody's help. It would be greatly appreciated. Number 3, storylines. Now, this kind of goes hand in hand with the thing we just talked about, but I wanted to talk about this on its own because the storyline aspect of the career mode has been something that's been very polarizing in a lot of sports games lately. And while they are stripping back the storylines, that's not to say that there's going to be no story elements involved. You're going to obviously need cutscenes for certain things if you win awards, when you sign your contract, when you interview with GMs. But the approach now is, instead of having an actual story that is a certain path that you absolutely have to follow, no matter what your position is, no matter what type of player you are, no matter what your situation is, instead of having to follow that same path for everybody, now that's really just been removed, and you're only going to get cutscenes when it makes sense to just pay off you progressing through your career, like I said, for awards and things like that. Number 4, the old player models. Now, this is another one that's definitely gonna depend on the player, because when it comes to player models, I always see a lot of different feedback on this. Some people liked the player models a few years ago where they were super bulky and the shoulder pads were super big, and a lot of people hated it and said this is not what players look like nowadays. They don't wear pads that are that big. Nowadays, players wear pads that are a little bit more low profile. And just aside from that, you had players that sometimes just looked a little bit off in their builds, and you especially saw this during animations like running and catching, because that's when the stuff would become more obvious. Last year, we saw a shift in the player models that took the pad height down, made them slimmer, made them look more up to date. We saw them do some tweaks with some new body types, but once again, it was kind of a split, especially from what I saw. A lot of people loved it and were happy about the change, but a lot of other people were complaining that they felt the models looked better the year before. So it really doesn't matter what they do with the player models. I feel like everybody's going to have a different opinion on it, but this year they definitely made a bigger change with what they're calling sapien technology. They redid the skeletons and added new player models so that players now will look more realistic in their animations when they're running and catching, which I do think that they do. However, I will say something just looks off about the player models to me, and again, this is my opinion, this is just my perspective on it. To me, they look off.
So Madden, this is what they're talking about in Madden 23, 24. So with that player animations, see how this dude's legs is just straight up and down, and looks like his ankles is broken, and then his dude's back is not all the way arched, and then this dude's foot placement isn't all the way down, it's halfway down. So I guess now they got a straight back, making his thing look better. His feet are actually planted so it don't look like it's broken, and then this dude's foot is on the ground, so makes it look more realistic, as I guess they say.
Other people say that they look good. So it's just a weird thing. I kind of preferred how the models looked last year. The tweak that they made from 22 to 23, I thought was pretty solid overall. They could have made some slight adjustments, but I thought they looked good. This year, I do think they look better in animation and on the field, which is really what matters the most, to be honest. But if you're like looking at a player on a edit screen or something like that, or in a cut scene in between plays, something just looks slightly off to me, and I don't quite know what it is. But they definitely have new skeletons, new player models. They've shown a lot of side-by-side comparisons so that you can see the difference. So the old system has completely been removed, and this is what we have now. Number 5, the conservative tackle. This is actually something that's gone very under the radar, and it's a very important part of gameplay. Conservative tackle is a way for you to wrap up and kind of just make the safe tackle without trying to go for a big hit to jar the ball loose or something like that. The conservative tackle allows you to just try to get your guy down and not have much room for error. Now, instead of conservative tackle, they're calling it wrap tackle, and the outcomes are based on the new tackle advantage algorithm that they've put in the game. Last year, they introduced a new tackling system. This year, they've kind of built on that. Now you're going to see players contest a lot of shorter catches instead of just midair catches. They're going to contest slants, drags, curls, and all those underneath routes. And instead of doing the conservative tackle, there's a different range of wrap tackles, which this might be better, it might be worse. There's really no way to know until we play the game for a while. But if you're used to the old conservative tackling system, this one's going to be a little bit different. You may have to relearn your timing on how to make the wrap tackles instead, because you're going to have different wrap tackle animations than the conservative tackle animations that you had in the past. And what also plays into this is the size of the defenders and the offensive players, because smaller defenders are going to go for the legs more when you go for these wrap tackles now, and big men are going to wrap up and try to drive smaller ball carriers back. So again, the conservative tackle in the past was kind of a one-size-fits-all way way of just conservatively getting your opponent to the ground. Now, the wrap tackle, there's going to be different outcomes, so you may have to time them differently depending on the type of...
Man, I swear to God, if I got a time tackles in Madden 24 chat, GG's. I'm not playing that shit. Oh, what?
versus a linebacker. Now, speaking of Madden 24's gameplay, if you want to know everything we've learned so far about the gameplay, you can check out this video.
Hopefully Madden 24 is a good game, and hopefully 2K24 is a good game, because we got way too many other games that are being released this year for these games to be trash. Seriously.